And there we go. All right, perfect. And I'll leave that poll up for you guys as well, and we'll look at the results a little bit later. All right, so thank you so much, guys, for joining Do More with Qlik for Beginners and Beyond. I hold these twice a month at 2 p.m. Eastern. These are available on demand and will be available in recorded formats as well that I archive on a page. You should have a resources section that is available in the player or in the window that you're using to view this presentation. That will bring you to many different areas of resources in the archives and more information regarding today's session and future sessions as well. Okay, on the last session that we had our special guest, Denise LaForgia, Director of Product Marketing at Cloud. She basically ran through our QlikSense SaaS offerings and capabilities and did a couple demonstrations of some of the unique features and capabilities. And then I also kind of took the reins and showed some SaaS-only type of features as well that are available. And we spent a little on getting the most out of your QlikSense Business trial. So for those of you who are new, you can get a 30-day trial of QlikSense Business. You can sign up at that link that you see below, as well as just go to qlik.com and click on the Try QlikSense for free. On the next session, August 20th, I also want you guys to join me and my special guest, Joe Warbington from Vizlib. He's going to show us how we can use Vizlib extensions with QlikSense and design custom visuals and new interfaces. And then he's also going to share a use case that's near and dear to my heart, basically in the mainstream entertainment area, and show us how he built it. Basically, Vizlib offers third-party visualization extensions that enhance visual richness and interaction with QlikSense apps, and that's something that you're going to want to definitely join to see how he does that and see how it interacts and works with Qlik. Our powerful API capability makes it possible for our valued network partners to build these type of capabilities and make them as additional add-ons to QlikSense software platform. So hopefully you'll be able to join me August 20th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so today's session is regarding set analysis. Now, I've been teaching set analysis for a while now, not as a formal educator, but more as a marketer, but with a technical spin. I've created a couple different blogs on it, a couple different videos. I've even taught a couple of sessions at Connections and Qlik World on it, basically from the perspective of beginners, but then always touch on a little bit of advanced capabilities. One of my members from the last session asked if I can cover set analysis, and even though the materials are out there, and I won't say this has been covered to the death, but there are a lot of tips and tricks and things people don't know about a set analysis capability, as well as some of the new capabilities that we added in QlikSense that are supported by our UI to also help you along with set analysis, or even where you won't have to build set analysis expressions anymore, they're built for you. So back in the day, when somebody would say, oh, you can use a set analysis expression to do that, well, now we have functions that are built in that actually create the expressions for you, and all you need to do is drag and drop the field onto your visualizations. So I'm going to spend some time showing you that as well, but I'm also going to cover some of the basics. Okay, so let's just close this out here. All right. I'm going to jump in. I'm just going to check the health of everybody, make sure everybody's good. Perfect. Everything looks good. All right. So as I mentioned, when it comes to the topic of set analysis, you need reference material, right? So there's help reference material at help.qlik.com, and then there's blog material, and then there's third-party partner material, such as I'm about to show you here from one of our partners, and former Qlik employees, Mike Garcia. And this information is all over the place. It can be scattered, but there are a couple key areas to focus on, and I kind of combed through them and think that these are probably the best to focus on as reference material for set analysis. And again, the reason I'm showing this up front is because some people have to log off later. They have other responsibilities. I'd rather give you this material up front right away and have it available, and then you can refer to it later. Okay. So the set analysis cheat sheet, I found this to be amazing piece of material that really highlights and covers a lot, even more probably than you would originally use within set analysis. I'm not going to obviously go through this verbatim here, but it covers the concepts, the terminology, the methodology of it, the expression structure, breaks down the fields and the operators, utilizing the different examples. Okay, and this is something that you do have available in your resources link, and this is something I would mention that everybody prints out and has it available if you're going to use set analysis. Okay, so I wanted to cover that up front as well. Now, there's also another utility here. I had it here earlier. Where is it? It might not be in here. I'm going to search for it. It's called the Set Analysis Wizard. And this was created by a Qlik employee as well, and is still running on a website. Here it is. Okay, and that link is also available in your resources. And basically here, through a prompted interface, you'll be able to select what you'll be looking for. Once I teach you some of the basics, this will obviously come in a little bit more handy in understanding, but you can select the basics and it will build the set analysis expression for you. So for example, when we talk about standard sets or looking at bookmark sets or previous or next sets, you would select certain identifier levels here. So we're just going to look at the current selection. We're going to calculate the sum of sales, just for example, and you can see it starts building that expression right here. Okay, this is also a tool. It's free to use. It's available on the website, and I would refer. That's right, my friend Stephen Walter. I forgot his name is because he left Qlik a little while ago. I think he might work for one of our partners now. Had created this, and this has a lot of capabilities in here that will also help you learn set analysis, along with complete examples as well. And then you can open these examples in the wizard too. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so those are two tools and resources that I'd like to show immediately. Make sure it's available to you. And now we're going to go into some of the basics on, set analysis. And the way I did this is I created a presentation. I actually had an app created for this. And I lost the app because, of course, everybody gets new computers and hard drives break. But luckily, I had the PowerPoint. So the apps I'm going to show you are going to be brand new that I created, but the way I'm going to kick off some of the basics, I did it in PowerPoint form. So right now, when we talk about set analysis, I got to PowerPoint. Come on. I got to switch screens to put it in presentation mode. Slideshow, we want to present from beginning. And display settings, swap presenter and slide. There we go. Okay, so when we talk about set analysis, okay, set analysis is an expression syntax, okay, and we have more of this a little bit later. But what you're basically doing when it comes to data visualization, business intelligence, even, queries, SQL queries, right? You're aggregating and you're presenting data back in a form of a calculation, in this case for measures, the numerical component of your data, right? And that calculation could be a sum, it could be a count, it could be standard deviation, it could be min, could be max, et cetera, whatever the aggregation functions that are out there, right? Average, min, max, sum are the most common. And then your measure, which is your numerical component. So when you think of it, this isn't scary, right? You have sum of sales. Okay, and most of the tools today, the information comes back to you already with our natural language processing, cognitive engine capabilities. You can just type in, show me sales, and it'll automatically create the visualization for you. But still, under the covers, things are happening, such as this. So is this scary? Sum of sales? No, it's not. How about this? So when you start breaking it down, utilizing the set analysis expression, what you see in front of you is basically a bunch of symbols, right? A bunch of character symbols. And then, to the eye, immediately it can get confusing, right? You see parentheses, you see curly braces, you see a $sign, you see angle brackets, and then you see parameters, right? Or those field or those inputs. So yes, this could be a little bit daunting. But what you can do is when you break it down until its component parts, it gets easier and easier, and you start to internalize it. Okay, here's one that actually starts to even get more advanced. Okay, and I'm going to teach you guys this also. If you see this $sign here, and then the open parentheses and the equal sign, I just think of it as a $sign and a little smiley face. This is called dollar expansion. This basically allows you to use functions in a set expression. We're going to cover that as well. Okay, so you start with the basics, then you start to evolve into different types of expressions. Okay. So keep that in mind. It's a basic function or an expression that is used for measures and aggregations, right? So when you're creating a bar chart, it's the measure component of your chart, or a KPI object. It's the measure component. Okay. So how and why it's used, live demo, we're just going to skip all that stuff. So you have your data, right? Let's take this oversimplification, right? We have 40 dots of various attributes, and these attributes here are colors, right? You have a complete data set, and we have blue, we have red, we have yellow, we have purple, we have green, right? And the total or the sum, right? So we said, give me the sum total dots, the answer would be 40, right? So something simple. Now, if we wanted to say select count of dots where dots are equal to purple, right? When you use a query tool or a relational model, for example, it literally filters out the rest of the surrounding data, and you're only left with the data set that you requested in that where condition, right? So select the number of dots that are purple, and it gives you 4, but you don't know anything else about the other 36 dots or the other attributes that are out there. The relational query literally filtered out the rest of the data. But when you answer questions with Qlik, basically what you're doing is still making the other data available for comparison and computation and analysis. And that's part of the core of the Qlik associative engine in our data model, right? When the data is loaded into that compressed in-memory structure, the other surrounding data is still available. And I'm not going to get into the associative difference in green, white, and gray. We covered that on another session that's in a recording, but that's what makes it possible. Then when combined with set analysis, it allows you to pull out all those different pieces and present them in a manner that will allow you to answer those different questions. Okay, so starting once again, we have our complete data set. Now give me only the blue dots. Okay, now we have the complete data set. Give me all dots that are not blue, right? The condition 32 exclusion, for example. Okay, so we're going back and forth here. Give me only blue dots. That's the condition, right? You want the sum of the number of dots that are blue. You're setting the condition. Okay, give me all the dots that are not blue. You're setting up another condition. This time you're excluding, and you'll notice that the blue is now excluded, and all of the answer is equal to 32 for all the rest of the dots. Okay, this is part of a set of data. So what you're doing is you're restricting, okay, or identifying a set of data that you want to present utilizing conditions on operators. Okay, and obviously here in this case, my field is my dots. Once again, we have our complete data set. You want to count, you want to sum, you would compare dots that are red and green. Okay, so now we're starting to add additional and capability in here. So the answer to that is 16. Okay, so what are we doing here? It's different than your selection. Okay, when you're used to selecting data, you're actually picking items from a list, and what happens is the results will automatically display that aggregated data in the form from your selection. But when you define set analysis, you're restricting it to a set of conditions that you define. Okay, it's different than your selection. It's completely conditional, and you can set it to ignore and exclude other selections as well. So as you're presenting and performing your analysis, you can have like different opposite effects of what you're looking for if you're choosing to ignore selections or excluding values. Okay, the expression syntax is available in QlikSense and our prior product, QlikView, and it's used in the chart objects in the measures area of the chart object. Okay, and it's not when loading data. If you're familiar with how we load data from the source, you do not use set analysis at the load level. It's done after the data is loaded in memory and into the app. And then there's a variety of identifiers and operators and modifiers that I'm going to cover for you, including bookmarks and states, and I have a couple of examples to show you how that works. And you build it within aggregation, sum, count, min, and max. Okay, so back to those same examples. This is a set analysis expression utilizing that simple data with the dots, right? So give me a count of the purple dots. We said the answer was 4. Okay, so we have that expression. Dots is obviously my field, count is my aggregation, and then your expression to set your condition, color equals, and then the value, in this case, purple. Okay, here's another example here. Count, color, red, and green. Again, don't focus too much on all of the syntax expressions. All of this is available in the cheat sheets and the materials that you can focus on. It's more just to get you familiar with how that expression looks. Okay, why would you use this? Well, when you're hard coding conditions within your analytics, right, you want to automatically keep a KPI in front of you for, let's say, a specific year, a specific time period, a specific category. a specific attribute for a particular value. You want that front and center, and you want that available. You can hard code that particular value directly within that visualization for that measure. It comes in handy good when you're calculating percentages of a whole, which we have pieces that automatically do that now within the UI. Comparative analysis, which we also can do with alternate states, but you can have side-by-side comparisons like you see here, sales in 2018 versus sales in 2019. If you wanted to set default dimensional value settings for measures, ignoring selection, sometimes you don't want the interaction to make any changes to your visualizations. So you can set certain measures and visualizations to ignore any interactions or selections. And then also another good use case is looking for all possible or excluded values. Okay, breaking it down, what it looks like, you have your aggregation function, which, as I mentioned, is your sum, your count, your min, your max. You have your condition, what you're restricting the measure to, in this case, the set of data, in this case here, the year 2015, and then the actual measure that you're going to summarize, in this case, sales. Okay, we'll worry about the quotes a little bit later. There are ways of using double quotes and single quotes if you're looking for like explicit searches of data or literals, for example. Okay, so pretty much if you wanted to break it down, first you choose the aggregation you're interested in, and then you choose the measure or field you're interested in, and then you have your sum of sales. Then you define your condition with these curly braces, and they go right next to the measure, like you see here. Then you think about the data that you want to include or restrict a set to, and you have to use a set modifier, in this case here, and identifiers. I'm not going to go through all these. Once again, these are things that are in reference material, but for example, some popular ones are 1, the number 1. It basically means it will ignore the selections. In other words, when you are using your filtering and selection interface within there, the value will not change. If you set an identifier of 1 in an expression, the value will not change. Okay, a $, which is also the default. In other words, if you don't use the dollar, it also just respects current selections. So if I wanted to restrict my data, let's say to the year 2020, but I also wanted to look at other categories and types for the year 2020, I would use the $, or the default value, and you're going to see all this live momentarily. And then there's one called 1 minus $, which means excluded records. In other words, it's going to show you the opposite of what you're looking for. So for example, if I was going to say 1 minus $, for 2015, in this case, what it's actually going to do is show me everything but 2015. Now you can see there's a number of different tables and common identifiers available in some of the results. This is available in the Qlik Help, just showing you that there is reference material out there. And then you set your modifiers and your operators and your assignments. Okay, these are just some examples here. Equal, union, exclusion. And you'll see some of that as well. In this case here, we're just basically looking at the sum of the sales for the year 2015. Okay, this is defining condition where sum of sales for country is equal to Germany. This is multiple expressions. In this case, look at years 2015, 2014, 2013, multiple values, I mean. And then this is multiple field values and expressions where I'm saying I want the sum sales for the year 2015 and where the country is Germany. Okay. And you can see this can get daunting, but once you start to use it, just like anything in this world, okay, you get some education on it, it becomes second nature to you. So you shouldn't be afraid of it. Here's another hard-coded list of examples that are available that I have printed out in a blog that will also be available for reference. You could also use variables. This is very powerful as well. I should probably do a session just on variables. So you can set a variable, for example, here, and then just reference that as a variable. So you can make your set expressions dynamic based off of the inputs from your user interface. And then, as I mentioned, the capability of using what's called dollar expansion, which is now creating your comparison equal to a function, right? So let's imagine we don't have the year value, for example, you know, somewhere in the data. This is going to extract whatever the day is, in this case today, or the, you know, it's on August 6, 2020, it's going to extract the year and plug it in here, right? So I'm just using a simple year function and a simple today function. This is a nested function that returns the result 2020. But the set analysis expression only knows that this is the actual function is going to be here to evaluate the result by utilizing this dollar expansion syntax. And you're going to see that as well. Okay, little note on utilizing elements of searches. You would use double quotes to define search elements. You can do things such as high score, for example, is less than 10,000. You can also say category name begins with BA asterisk. Okay, this is a way of using wildcards to filter out or pull out or restrict those to those particular values. These are some powerful capabilities in there as well. Numeric values do not require quotes, as you see in this example here. And then single quotes are explicit case-sensitive searches, matches. So for example, game is Pac-Man, Pac-Man space Space Invaders. That means you're looking for this exact spelling, exact case syntax. Okay, so that's pretty much just a quick example of the expression syntax, why you would use it, what it looks like, how it's used. Now you're going to see a little bit more of this in live action examples, and I've prepared some apps for that. And then we're also going to touch on how these capabilities are also available within the UI components and how it helps you along to learn that. Okay. Now, the questions I'm going to have to hit towards the end. I see a number of questions that came in. So just, please sit tight and we'll, I'll definitely address those for you as we go towards the end. Okay. So let me get to so many tabs up. Where is my, oh, there we go. So right now I'm working within my tenant. This is my cloud SaaS environment, or tenant that I set up. And I have a couple of set analysis examples here. So I'm going to, like a cooking show, I'm going to kind of show you the completed cake, if you will. And then we could evolve past this. Okay, so here are some visualizations that have been created with set analysis expressions. Okay, and the way we break it down, you can start simple by just creating a sum of sales, and then start experimenting with the different identifiers and the different modifiers and operators and assignments to actually see how it works. Okay, and then this is available also on a blog if you want to download it and look at it in an example. But basically, we're just looking at sum of sales for various restricted sets of data. Sum of sales where data is less than 2018. Sum of sales, this is just your default sum of sales by category name. Sum of sales where category name is equal to any category that ends in clothes, including baby wear. Okay, this is showing me sum of sales for the year. This says 2015, that's hard coded, it should be 2020, where the year is equivalent to a function like I showed you earlier. Okay, so let's just create a quick example on how we could break that down. And I'm going to do it utilizing my video game inventory because you know me and video games. Okay, and we're going to just create a new sheet. And the reason we're doing this is just to start fresh. So I'm going to click on Edit Sheet. Now the data's already been loaded. I'm not going to, really get into that. But we have our fields here. And this basically is, think of it as game inventory. We have types of games, titles of games, when they were purchased. In this case, I don't have a purchase price, but we're going to use the measure of count. In other words, the number of titles, the platform, the developer, the genre, where they were purchased, etc. Okay, so to keep it simple, what I'm going to do is just go into Insights, and I'm just going to quickly ask a question. This is NLP, natural language processing. I could type in natural language, and it'll create the visualization for me. So let's just say I want a count of titles. It helps prompt me along, as you see here. We're going to ask this question. Let it do its magic, and it's going to come back with the title count. Now, this might take a minute or two. That shouldn't take a minute. This is because I'm using a version right now that is a development on my side. Normally doesn't take this long, but as I mentioned, this is my R&D box. When I was running my tests earlier today, it did this to me earlier, so I didn't expect it to do it again, though. But okay, there we go. So we have 692 titles that are available within this data set. So I'm just going to add that to my new sheet that we have available here. And then what we're going to do is just go to that sheet, and there it is, 692 titles. So now I'm going to grab the platform, and that's just going to be a simple list box. So here we now go into our analysis mode. And let's just say I'm interested in Atari 2600 titles. We have 151 Atari 2600 titles. You'll notice part of the associative difference and the associative engine, global context, whatever I select automatically updates, right? It's not sending out multiple queries to the backend data sources. It is in the in-memory engine, and it's on the fly. And I'm not going to talk about green, white, and gray and all that stuff. I covered that last time. Basically, I'm restricting at this point or filtering my data down to Atari 2600 titles, but I still have insight to the rest of the data that's here. As I select, the count changes. Well, I could very easily, let's say I just want to see only the Atari 2600 data when I open up my dashboard. So in this case here, I'm going to go to the measure, and I'm going to go within the function. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. And right before my measure, as I mentioned, we're going to put in this curly braces. And then I'm going to put in these angle brackets. And then we're going to type in our field. In this case here, it's platform. You're going to see how it automatically helps with the IntelliSense and autocomplete. And then our platform is equal to, and then we use our curly braces once again. And then we're going to type in a explicit match. In this case here, NES. Oh, no, actually, we're going to do Atari 2600. You'll see here the other trick is that we have this expression window that is error trapping and making sure the syntax is valid. Okay, so that's another way to make sure that what you're typing in this case here is valid. So we're going to click apply. And look what happened. The measure dropped to 151. Okay, so that's that particular instance in action. Now I'm going to show you a simple way of building that without having to have to type that. Okay, but before I do that, I just want to show you another little tip that I use when it comes to creating a set analysis expression. So I type in the aggregation, and I type in what I'm looking for. Okay, title, sum, count, min, max, in this case, count, title. Okay, and you'll know that your fields are valid because of the color coding as well. Okay, and then you type in your curly braces, and then you type in your identifier brackets, right? So every time you do this, it's really just like it becomes second nature. You know you're typing in your aggregation, you know you're typing in your measure, or in this case here, we're going to say sum sales. And then you type in your two curly braces, and then you type in the two angle brackets. I just do it automatically. It's just part of it. And then I know that the field goes here. In this case here, we're just going to say year equals, and then once again, you type in your two curly braces, and then the value goes in here. And the value could be surrounded or encapsulated by double quotes or single quotes. So once you get that flow, building a set analysis expression really becomes a lot easier. And plus, you also have your expression checker here to let you know if you're doing it correctly. Okay. Also, if you're using variables, this will evaluate the variable and show you the resulting value. Okay. But watch this little trick here. Do you want to build this expression? I'm going to just count. We're going to go back. Right. We're just counting title right now. You select boxes. In this case here, let me reset my browser a little bit. Let's say I'm interested in Atari 2600 as well as NES. Okay, we have 188 titles. It builds builds this filter and makes it available to you within the expression window. So when I go back to the expression editor, I put my cursor right in front of the measure, in this case, the title, the count of title. See, we have a little accordion style tab here, set expressions. Use current selections. You could also use bookmarks and alternate states, which I'll talk about in a minute. You just click insert, and it actually inserts the set analysis expression for you. And then you can build off of that as well. Now, I thought I had multiple values in here. It was just NES. If you do NES, there it is. I hit the shift key on accident. So now we have two of them. We go back to our visualization with our measure. Set expression, use current selections, click insert, and it builds that set expression. Okay, it's pretty simple, right? It's not that difficult once you start to see these little tips and tricks that are available. The typing or the expression building of it, or allowing the tool to help build it for you. And again, I showed you the utilities and the cheat sheets as well that could help you along your way with that. Okay, so let's go to another example here. So that's the basics of it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's the basics of it. So now I have something I built here that can kind of talk a little bit about utilizing the searches or what's available inside the next step when it comes to putting in expressions inside the set analysis expression. So today's date, for example, is the 6th, right? So I'm just going to change 5 to a 6. Oh, let me clear up the platform, by the way, here. Okay. So these are now visualizations, in this case here, tables, KPIs, just simple visualizations that are showing you the count of titles, right? The count is the summary. And this time restricted to the purchase date of the 6th. Okay. If I wanted to change this to the 5th, you can see the data changes. Change it back to the 6th, the data changes. Okay, so that means each one of these visualizations has the measure set up with a set expression. But in this case here, I'm actually using a variable for the set expression. So if I go to my variables, you can see I actually have something called v expression, and I just hard-coded a value of the actual set expression. So you could use set analysis expressions within a variable. So here we see v expression is the name of the variable. If we go to, let's say, the KPI object, you can see the measure is just that variable. That's it. It equals $, open parentheses, v expression, which is the variable name. So enabling me basically to dynamically change the expression on the fly, for this case, for the demonstration. So utilizing set expressions as variables as possible. Now you could also, for example, limit this down utilizing a function. Okay, and I'm going to show you that right here. So here we have purchase date is 8/5/20, 8/6, we have 34. Well, let's say I wanted to put in, today, using the function today. So if I go like this, that's not going to work, right? Because it doesn't know that it's evaluating a function. So in this case here, what we do is we open it up with a $, a parentheses, and an equal sign, and then close up that parentheses like you see here. And now the set analysis expression is evaluating a function. Okay, so we had 34 titles on August 6th. The today function returns August 6th, if you will. And you can see that it actually is evaluated because of this $ expansion that you see here as well. Okay, so this is another one of those important things that become a little difficult to follow, again, when learning it, but it's also something that happens right away. When I was learning set analysis back in the day, immediately I was like, well, wait a minute, I need to evaluate the year of my order date, and I didn't have, let's say, I wanted to say, today versus yesterday, or, current sales versus last year's sales, et cetera. How would I do that? But I didn't want to have to hard code it every time. I wanted it to come up every time I brought up my dashboard, and then I had to use functions with my expressions. So utilizing dollar expansion, like you see here, is what enables the interpreter to know that a function is coming to be evaluated. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, I always keep these a little short and sweet. So we're going to move over to the questions, but there's two things I want to show you also: how we're taking set analysis expressions to the next level by incorporating them into the UI for most common capabilities that are out there. Okay. So for example, bookmarks and alternate states. So in this case here, we have a KPI object. Let me go in here. Just going to delete this. Grab my chart. Add the measure. We're just going to do a count on title. Okay, 766 titles. Okay, now imagine you're performing your analysis and you're performing your selections. So in this case here, that's all. I'm sorry. This has got alternate states attached to it. I need to delete states on this. Okay, so my count of the title changes with my selections, as you see that they're available here. So I selected Atari 2600 and Atari 7800. My count titled 176. Well, did you know that anytime you create your answers for your analysis, you can go in and create what's called a bookmark. Okay, and a bookmark can then be named whatever you wish. In this case, I'll just call it 2 games. Click create. And now this personalized bookmark is available for me within that app. So the next time I go to that app and I go to the app overview, I can navigate to bookmarks and select this bookmark, and it will automatically highlight and select those particular values for that field. Well, I don't know if you know this, but you could actually use a bookmark in set analysis. So if I go to count title, and we're going to open this up, insert my cursor right in front of the title, set expressions, use bookmark. And you can see 2 games. I click insert, and it actually inserts the field name and the values that are used in that bookmark. But what people don't know is a little trick. You could actually just reference the bookmark name 2 games, like you see there. And then when I click apply, it's actually now referencing or referring to my bookmark within the set analysis expression. Okay, that's some also little tip and trick people are not aware of, and you can see how it's being built. Same thing goes for alternate states. I'm just going to show you this quickly. You can set your list boxes. For example, when performing comparative analysis, so we have state 1 and state 2. What that allows you to do is compare visualizations using separate selections, in this case here. So as I'm selecting, you can see the bars are changing. So this box is tied to this measure, which is state 2, and this box is tied to the blue measure, which is state 1. And you can perform comparative analysis this way. And there actually, I think we might have, the first session we did in Do More, it's in the first session archive, was on comparative analysis that we actually went into. But what happens here is under the covers, we're using set analysis as well to perform those states. So if we go to the bar chart and we look at the count, you can see we're counting state 1 and counting state 2. So you can actually utilize states within set analysis expressions as well from comparative analysis. Okay, we talked about the secret of the dollar expansion. And the last thing I want to show you is calendar-based measures. So within any set analysis expression, you can say, for example, let's show me the data for this year, show me the data for last year, for example. Okay, and you could do that by utilizing hard-coded capabilities within set analysis by saying where year equals 2018 and where year equals 2019 and where year equals 2020, for example. Well, we have this built-in capability. I'm just deleting them here for us right now so you can see them directly within the measures under mastered items called calendar measures. So when you're looking at your fields, you can right-click on your field and say create calendar measures. Okay, the date field you choose, your time field in this case was purchase date. So you have to have, this is calendar-based measures, requires that you have a date. The aggregated field in this case here is going to be title. And we're going to count our titles. And then you choose your time range, yearly, monthly, quarterly, weekly. So let's just look at the number of titles purchased this year versus last year. So what I'm going to do is select count title current year, count title last year. Save to master items. And I simply just drag these onto my canvas. And I have the number of titles I purchased during the current year and the number of titles that were purchased last year. Now, if you wanted to explore these, you could actually unlock the expression. And then you could actually open it and you can see how it's built. And under the covers, it's set analysis capability. And you don't have to build that in because it's now built as part of the calendar measures. Okay, so those are some of the more advancements that we put into this. There's actually one more with modifiers as well. With accumulation, for example, here, when you create measures, grab my chart. In this case here, I'm just going to grab a line chart. For our measure, we're just going to do the count of title once again. Our time dimension here, in this case here, will just be purchase date. Let's convert this to a bar chart. So when you're in your data and you look at your measures, you'll notice that there's something called a modifier. So this will allow you to select predefined calculations or advanced calculations for, in this case, and we add to this with each release, we have accumulation, moving average, difference, and relative numbers. Okay, a simple one right now would be accumulation, and the range is going to be full. Basically, you're just adding each day, we add the previous numbers title that was purchased until we get to the end of it. Obviously, you see here the full range. And if we look at the output expression, it's basically a number of different functions, including set analysis under the covers. Okay, so more advancements and innovation in making more advanced calculations easier at the touch of your fingertips, simply with a couple of clicks. And again, all of this is in recorded format and documented, if you want more information on that. Okay, so at this time, what I'm going to do is look at the questions and basically see if there's things I could answer or demonstrate at the same time. So start entering in your questions. I'm also going to see what the results are of the poll. Very good to see. A majority of people here on the poll are saying that they're comfortable using it. And we have a small amount of people who are kind of like in between on that. And as I mentioned, next session is August 20th. If you guys have a partner solution or a particular capability or something that you'd like to share with Qlik enthusiasts, the partners and customers, just reach out to me, and you could also be a guest on the sessions. I already have a number of people lined up, so we can kind of build out an editorial calendar, if you will. If that's something you're interested in, please let me know. All right, guys, so I'm going to hang up. I appreciate it. You know where you can reach out to me, Qlik Community. You can even just respond to the registration email. It'll come directly to me. That's the easiest way. Or you could hit me up on Twitter as well. Been a pleasure. Looking forward to presenting to you again. And hopefully I'll see you guys on the August 20th session. Take care all. Have a great weekend.